Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
Now entering the game for Philly Pressbox Radio, Bill Furman and Jim Chet Chesko.
It's Wednesday, January 31st, 2024. Welcome to the Philly Pressbox Radio Roundtable, brought to you by the Irish Rover Station House in Langhorne, PA, Cavs, Philly Tailgates, and the Edge of Philly Sports Network. I'm Bill Furman. I'll be your host tonight, along with my partner,
Bill. I just lost my audio, so I'm going to have to try to remedy this situation. I don't know what exactly happened here, but let me just say it has not been the greatest of weeks on the Philadelphia sports scene. Several losses for both the Sixers and Flyers since we last talked. Some injury problems for both teams. That troubling situation, of course, involving Carter Hart that you alluded to. The stinking 49ers are Super Bowl bound. But what you didn't mention, Bill, is that the Academy Award nominations came out last week, and I'm hearing rumors that it'll be addressed at some point over the next hour, so make sure you take notes. And again, Bill, I have totally lost my audio, so you're going to have to talk amongst yourselves a bit while I try to figure out how I can actually hear you. It just crapped out at 7:01 as you were talking. So you talk for a minute, and I'll be back with you.
Hey, well, I think I got my end of it straightened out. So are you back on now?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I could hear you all along. I don't think you could hear me, and for some reason, I went mute.
Well, that's what it was. I'm here jiggling things around.
But I don't know why. So anyway, we're back. We got all kinds of stuff to talk about. I did say we're going to have Coach Vermeil on. We're going to talk to him. Carter Hart's got some issues that are big for the Flyers. We're going to give you a little chance because I know you're dying to talk about Taylor Swift. I know it's going to yeah, we've had enough of that. But hey, we finally got through the opening, so let's get started tonight with the starless Sixers, who have all of a sudden lost 4 in a row, all on the road. As I said, Tyrese Maxey has been out. Joel Embiid, Mr. Softy, has missed a handful of games. He comes back last night, gets hurt again, a different injury. What do you make of all this? Game 46 in the books?
Well, first of all, he missed 2 games. 2 is not a handful unless you got very tiny hands. He missed Saturday night in Denver when he never seems to play out there. People wonder if he's, just avoiding Jokic, worried about the altitude situation. But then he didn't go Monday either. People thought, well, maybe that was just to make it look good for Saturday. But he did try to play Tuesday night, last night. And I got to tell you, I watched the game. He was definitely hurt going into that game. He was hobbling around, couldn't find his shot early, missed his first 5 shots. At one point, he tried to go up to block the shot. He didn't even get off the ground. The knees just weren't working well. And then, of course, in the fourth quarter, with the Sixers down by 11 or 12 points, but still like 7 or 8 minutes left, he has the more serious injury when somebody, knocks him over and then falls on top of him. And you can see
Almost sounds like a football player or something, maybe a hockey player. He got boo-boo.
Well,
he got boo-boo, fell down.
He already had the bad knee, and then one of the Warriors landed on the left knee.
They're not related injuries.
You're making light of this, but the guy is clearly impeded by this. And I know it's frustrating. I was ready to, kind of write him off the other night as saying, maybe he's just faking it, didn't want to go up against Jokic out in Denver. But yeah, watching him Tuesday night, he was definitely hurting. And now there was some thought that maybe he was just trying to come back because some people like you were saying that he's, soft. And the other people were saying he's got to get more games in because he's got to get to 65 to have a shot at the MVP, which, we assume he would like to win again. So now he can only miss 5 games the rest of the year. It's just a mess, Bill. And I just realize he's going to be hurt every single year and we have to live with it or get him out of town.
So much drama. He creates so much drama. I want to create championships somehow. Let's get to the NBA finals. Let's get where we need to be. Forget these individual awards. Let's start winning some basketball games late in the season and in the playoffs and stop with all this crap.
Well, it is frustrating. I know that, but what are you going to do? You say he's soft. I say he's just injury prone. I mean, these are legitimate injuries. And every year it's something different. He takes an elbow in the face and gets his jaw broken. He gets the eye thing, a couple of years ago. He had the feet problem when he first came to the NBA. Now it's knees. It's just a shame because he is, truly a generational player, except that he's, hurt a third of the year and almost never healthy come playoff time. So it's just a shame that we're being robbed of that. You see what he can do when he is 90% healthy, but he ain't nowhere near that right now.
Yeah, well, it was funny. The other day I just saw on Facebook, I saw somebody had put together a little video thing of Moses Malone.
Yeah.
And I was watching that thinking, Joel Embiid would not even go in the paint if Moses Malone was in there. He would be annihilated. He's so soft.
Yeah, I don't know about that. That's your opinion. You can go with that if you want to.
Well, I'll tell you what. We got a whole bunch of people commenting and listening. Tell us what you think. Is Embiid the real deal or is Embiid soft like I think he is?
Yeah, tell us.
Let's get your comments.
Yeah, the other thing, they got a whole bunch of other injuries. Marcus Morris is out. Maxey, you mentioned, missed the last 3 games. DeAnthony Melton, Nicholas Batum, Robert Covington. So, yeah, instead we're seeing, these guys like Korkmaz and Springer, the young guys too. It's kind of frustrating because, the Sixers were playing so well as of a week and a half ago. Now they've lost 4 straight. And as we look at the NBA standings, they're starting to sink. They're down to 5th in the standings. And don't be surprised if the Pacers and Heat catch a little ground too now, because we know Embiid is definitely out Thursday, the final game of the road trip in Utah. And we still haven't heard anything official on the MRI he was getting today, but you got to think that he's going to miss more time. The good news is the Sixers do come back home after Thursday. They have 4 straight home games starting Saturday night against those Brooklyn Nets with a familiar face back in the lineup for the Nets. He's your other favorite player, Bill. We're not going to mention his name.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I just came across a note right before the show. Do you know that he got hurt in game 1 last night? He's out.
No.
Yeah, he sat for 2 months. He came back and in game 1, he got a knee contusion. He's out.
And he did have his usual 10 points, 8 rebounds, 11 assists or whatever.
Yep.
And he's hurt again.
Yes. So looky here, Chet. Joe checked in. Soft. Mr. Softy. Ambrose says selfish will never win a championship. Robbie, he's soft.
I know that's the prevailing opinion.
It's
I know
soft.
That. I know.
Hey,
I know.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like all these people know Embiid's body and know how much pain he's in. Come on, people.
Maybe they all just start all sweetened up on Joel Embiid. That's all I got to say. Let's move on. Talk a little Flyers. We'll come back as the comments come in.
All right.
Flyers are at the All-Star break. Couldn't come soon enough. Man, they got blown out of the last 5 games. Travis Konechny will represent the team in Toronto on Saturday. but they could not get to this break fast enough.
Yeah, that's definitely the truth, Bill. Tough times for the Flyers. They needed this break, but we'll get to the Hart situation in a minute. One positive thing is Owen Tippett been playing really, really well lately, and he got the new contract last week, 8 years, $49.6 million. I want to get your thoughts on that because you watch these guys more closely than I, but he has certainly been playing well. That one goal that he had last week, the spinorama was just amazing. What do you think of Tippett and the 8-year deal?
Well, I like Tippett. I think he's going to be a pretty good player. I think 8 years is probably a little bit too much for anybody. The $49 million, by the time you get to year 4 or 5, is probably going to be a deal.
Exactly.
It sounds like a lot of money now, but as prices escalate, it's probably a deal. But that seems like an awful lot of years to me.
Yeah, but if he is the real deal, like you said, it's a bargain. So we shall see. Most people are very high on him. I just heard Brad Marsh on another podcast. He was raving about Tippett, thinking he's the real deal. So, yeah, we can hope. And now we're hearing the Flyers aren't going to make any big trades to try to improve their standing. It's more likely to make some, tinkering here and there to get more youth. Morgan Frost, though, one of the guys that has been mentioned as being on the trading block. I don't know why. I know you like Frost, so who knows?
Yeah, I do like Frost, but John Tortorella doesn't seem to really like Frost, or he tends to sit him out a bit. Whether he's trying to motivate him to play better, thinks there's more there. I don't know, but Frost had some points running there at the end of the right before the break. And it may be that he is on the move. He's still young. He's only like 24. And he came into the NHL out of the draft as a real high-scoring guy. Scored lots of goals, but we just haven't seen all that from him yet. And I hope they don't give up on him because I think he's got still nothing but getting better to do.
Yeah, I hope so. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Flyers coming back from the break. They had the losing skid. Now they're off for the entire week because there is the All-Star game this weekend. And they have to sort out the goaltending situation now all of a sudden.
Yeah, and then as we were going to say, it's been compounded by the troubling news from number one goaltender Carter Hart. Sam Ersson is now the number one goaltender, at least for a while. Not sure how this is all going to play out. If you read the things, it looks like these guys are okay in a court of law. It doesn't look like there should be a big problem. The case was dropped originally due to lack of evidence. There weren't enough facts to press charges against them, but the Canadian government looks like they're deciding otherwise, and they're going to try to take this thing to a trial. And I guess I don't know all this stuff by any means, but I think if you're arrested or under charges in Canada, you can't leave the country. So that means you ain't playing in Philadelphia.
Now, for people who don't know the story, Hart and a few other young players, have been formally charged in a sexual assault case from this incident way back in June of 2018, Bill, when they were playing for Canada's juniors team. Hart was not yet 20 at the time of the incident. Not that changes anything. His attorney insists Hart will be proven innocent, but with reports saying the case likely won't go to trial for another 2 years, which is crazy, by the way. You wonder if these guys' careers will ever get the chance to resume.
Yeah, and he is still on the Flyers roster. The Devils had 2 players involved in this. They took them both off the roster. The only thing I have read with Carter Hart is if you go to your local Flyer shop or whatever, you cannot get number 79 jerseys. You can't get Carter Hart's name and 79 on a T-shirt or anything else. That's been discontinued.
Yeah, and that makes sense, given the situation. So I understand that. But what do you know about the backup goalie who was there last week? Peterson, is that his name? The guy they got in the offseason?
Yeah, they got Peterson. Like the middle of last year. They gave him a little bit of work. He didn't play that well. He got beat out by Ersson here in the preseason. But he is experienced, and I mean they're going to have to roll with it. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, so going to be a very interesting second half of the season, and it's a shame for the Flyers because they, until a few couple of weeks ago were playing so well. And you wonder if this recent losing streak may have had something to do with the whole Hart situation, because, I think most people knew that something was coming on regarding that. And Hart did not play well his last couple of starts. So that could have been a factor.
Yeah. I think I just think that they're, from Carter Hart's standpoint, I mean, you're a Philadelphia sports fan. Let's say this all clears up and there are no charges and they all walk away. Do you let him back in with open arms, or, Philly's a tough place now. But there's been bad cases before. We saw the Duke lacrosse thing, and bad things happened to them and turned out that they were innocent. There's always circumstances, but as a Philadelphia sports fan, do you say, wow, that was a bad situation? Come on back. We need you in the pipes.
I think you need to get more information. You got to get more details about exactly what happened before you welcome anybody back with open arms.
Yeah. Well, and I guess the story, one more step of the story without a whole lot of time, is my understanding is that the intoxicated young lady, who must not have been 18, was 17, was at hand. And one of the players and her went off to a room, wherever they went, and that was all fine. They were good, except then apparently the player invited in other players. And that's the room got crowded. And she did not want any charges pressed or whatever. And Hockey Canada paid off without the players knowing it, without the players' approval. Hockey Canada paid $3 million or something. And then I think that's why the Canadian government got involved, because they said, wait a minute, did you use taxpayers' money to pay for this? We want somebody to pay the price here. What's going on? Which then opened the investigation that we're now into now. So
yeah, it's been a big mess, and it's just a shame that they're not going to be able to resolve it apparently by trial for another couple of years if those reports are true. Boy, this has been a long, slow process with lots of twists and turns along the way, and we'll see how it turns out.
We know hockey players are rock stars in Canada, so it's going to be a big thing, and I hope it, for all involved, for the kids, they're still kids, for all the kids involved, I hope it works out that they can all live happily ever after. That's more important than them getting back on the hockey rink. Hopefully everything is resolved in a good fashion, if there is a good fashion in this. Because apparently there's a victim, and that's not good either. So
we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll know more in the next week or two, and we'll talk about it. Bill, we lost you again.
Back.
There you go.
I figured out what I did. When I lean on the edge of my computer, it's knocking my mic out. I got it now. I know what happened.
Don't lean like that.
That's right. So let's give a shout out to all the shows over the Edge of Philly Sports Network this week. The gang, as usual, has all the bases covered. You can catch all the action on www.eopsports.com, as well as Edge of Philly Sports on YouTube. You can also find our show on the Philly Pressbox Radio YouTube channel. Help us out. Hit those subscribe, follow, and like buttons. And as always, share with your family and friends. As you can see, we got football. We're talking basketball, hockey, baseball's coming. We got lacrosse, the Union. Everything is covered all week long on the Edge of Philly Sports Network. And Chet, in the meantime, hey, you've been over to the Irish Rover Station House. What is going on there this week? There's always something.
Always lots on the calendar at the Irish Rover Station House in beautiful Langhorne over there on Bellevue Avenue. They have Thursday through Sunday dinner specials. They have Killer Burger Thursdays every week. That's always a favorite. Oh, did you know they have Quizzo every Wednesday evening? Well, Valentine's Day is 2 weeks from today. Yeah, the 14th. And they will have a special Parks and Rec Galentine's Day Quizzo that evening. I was a big Parks and Rec fan, by the way. Good show. So, yeah, check that out. That is 2 weeks from now. Always 24 beers on tap at the Irish Rover. Again, located on Bellevue Avenue in Langhorne. And you can get all of the details on all of what I just told you about on their website, which, of course, is irishroverstationhouse.com.
Hey everybody, it's Willie Nile here, and you're listening to Chet and Bill on Philly Pressbox Radio. You lucky people.
We're lucky to have you, Willie. Hey, Chet, the Eagles making some moves. They've hired Kellen Moore as the offensive coordinator. They've hired Vic Fangio as the defensive coordinator. So a lot to talk about there, which we're going to get to. But, hey, first, we're going to talk football. You had a chance to visit with Hall of Fame coach Dick Vermeil to talk about just about everything. So let's get to that, and we'll come back and talk a little more Eagles.
Yes, sir. Third year in a row that I've been able to do this with the Hall of Fame coach for a chat between the conference title games and the Super Bowl. And you know this, he never disappoints. The Super Bowl 58 matchup for the February 11th contest in Las Vegas is now set. So it's the perfect time to welcome back a Super Bowl winning coach who's also a Pro Football Hall of Fame inductee, Dick Vermeil. Coach, great to see you again.
Nice to be with you, Chet.
Well, Coach, we're going to talk not only about the upcoming Super Bowl, but also about the Eagles, who were unfortunately one and done in the playoffs this year. I know you watched the Birds post-Thanksgiving collapse 6 losses in 7 games after a 10-1 start. What was your take on why things went so badly?
Well, not really being inside their meeting rooms or on their practice field. All I am is a fan observing what I see and watch on television. And I think it just was a gradual decay, maybe in their process, in their schemes, but certainly they were not the team they were earlier in the season. And I think injuries hurt them a little bit. But I think probably, which has already been done, a detailed evaluation will be taken, and already a lot of it has already been taken in both coaching, in the staff situation, and also now probably going on is the process. The process. There can't be any one thing blamed for the demise. I don't think I've ever seen a team do what they did, and that's not an honor to carry with great pride. But I think and have confidence in the organization and Jeffrey and Howie and Nick that they'll get it right. They've already made some moves that they think were necessary, and that'll probably create a positive change coming this next football season, but it won't ease the pain of what already happened.
Well, over the past week, the Eagles did hire 2 new coordinators, longtime defensive coordinator Vic Fangio and 35-year-old OC Kellen Moore. Are these new coordinators upgrades from their predecessors, do you think?
Only time will tell. Only time will tell. Both have experienced success. Okay, both have been fired before. I know Vic pretty well over the years. I met him initially when in the early USFL when I was head coach of the Eagles, and Jim Moore came in and took Carl's team over with Philadelphia Star, and he was with that group. And I've always thought he was a great football coach and a great person with a lot of experience behind him. I thought they made a mistake in letting him go in Denver. I believed he would have righted that ship. Kellen, he did a lot of great things with the Dallas offense. Had no success last year with their great quarterback. He had his worst year. Of course, he experienced some injury factors as well. But sometimes change is good for everybody.
We got to talk about the quarterback. Jalen Hurts, of course, was great in the 2022 season, pretty average overall in 2023. Why the regression, and what needs to be done to get Jalen Hurts back on track?
Well, obviously, Nick felt that the change in coordinators hurt, and he's already made the move to solve that problem. But, he's the same guy, okay? He isn't any different than he was 2 years ago, other than in performance. And I think they're trying to find the reason for the performance dropping, and more often than not, it's usually within the scheme and within the process that caused the quarterback. He didn't lose his ability, overnight. So, and I think Nick feels right now he made the proper moves in hiring a new coordinator.
Well, the Eagles defense needs a lot of new faces next year, in my view. What are the top priorities defensively, in your opinion?
Well, the pass rush dropped dramatically.
Yeah.
The pass defense was better last year because they had 3 times the better pass rush. And it made everybody in the secondary that might have had a little edge of weakness within their playing ability. And without that that pass rush, it became glaring. They would drop to the bottom of the league. And so I think, number one, got to get the pass rush back. And number two, stay healthy and keep adding talent to that secondary, and maybe more specifically the linebacker position. Not that it has been taken for granted, but it maybe not the quality they need to get back to where they have to be performance-wise to get back to that Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'd love to see them place more of a priority on linebackers and the secondary. Speaking of the secondary, a guy from the past, the 1990s primarily, Eric Allen is one of the finalists for the Pro Football Hall of Fame this year. A lot of Philadelphia area fans are wondering if this is the year he finally gets the call. Is he going to get in this year, Eric Allen?
I have no clue. Those guys, there's probably a few guys that are going to be automatic, go in on their first vote, but Torrey Holt, one of my former players, is in the finals for the 5th time. Jared Allen, who I drafted at the Chiefs, was involved with him there, is in the finals again. It's tough. I think you just have to be patient and understand that everybody there that has been nominated and in the finals is a Hall of Fame player. Just like there's Hall of Fame coaches that aren't in the Hall of Fame, okay? And they're easy to name. They're easy to name. So it's so competitive.
Hey, speaking of Hall of Famers, I got Ray Didinger up here, and you and me, a picture from a few years ago. Speaking of Ray Diddy, he told us the story one time about your first year in Philadelphia in 1976. You were not a big fan of Ray Didinger. Why was that?
I felt at the time that sort of an attack was taken on me for firing a player that was popular, okay, on the team as a special teams player. And, and I don't read the papers or listen to the radio talk shows when I'm working, but someone brought the picture of me chopping a player's head off with a big axe, and that bothered me. And I thought I'd already heard about Ray Didinger and the quality that he was as a person and as a writer. So I thought I should confront him and let him know on a one-on-one situation why I made the move that I made. And we met after a lunch period in training camp. He understood, I understood, and we never had a negative statement between us after that. To me, he's the best of the best, and he has no equal in his profession. And I don't think anybody works any harder. And I don't always agree with everything he says or writes, and he doesn't with me. But I respect his process, and I respect his credibility and integrity. To me, he has no limits. I love the guy.
Yeah, we do too. Hey, I want to ask you about this. I caught you on WIP last week, and you had some real high praise for Patrick Mahomes, saying he may end up being even more highly thought of than Montana and Brady. What made you say that about Mahomes?
Well, he has more innate talent. Both of those quarterbacks were Hall of Fame quarterbacks, are Hall of Fame quarterbacks. And the coaching staffs took wonderful advantage of their talents and what they could do. There was nothing left in regard to development of those two players. Patrick Mahomes has a little bit more to develop in regard to gifted talents. His mobility, his awareness to scramble and throw off his back foot on no foot, jump in the air, throw it behind him, throw it sidearm, throw it damn near upside down and backwards, lateral. He can do it. And, the other two quarterbacks, as good as they were, the best as they of all of them, really, those two guys, they could not do some of those things.
And his coach, Andy Reid, now ranks, among the NFL's all-time greats. What can you say about Andy? This guy has had quite a career.
Well, the great thing about Andy is his personality and profile and temperament as a person has allowed him to handle all the highs and lows emotionally and keep everything in proper perspective. I didn't have that ability. And because of that, he's been able to stay in the game, work within his own scheme of offense, and keep updating it and improving it and going back into the old stuff and pulling it up today to use next week and all these things. Nobody ever coached the game that has has many years of experience improving his own offense and then applying great players to make it work, and applying a process and a work ethic on the practice field that allows that offense to continue to develop and execute well on game day.
Well, you were pretty good yourself, and that's why we get to introduce
not his class. I don't put myself in Andy Reid's class. I wish I was. I wish I had his temperament and those kind of things. But Andy Reid, along with Belichick, I think will end up being in a class by themselves.
Well, we do get to introduce you all the time as a Pro Football Hall of Fame coach, and that is certainly well-deserved. And before we let you go, Coach, I got to get your prediction. Super Bowl 58 in Vegas, February 11th, Niners and the Chiefs. Looks like a 1.5-point line in favor of the Niners right now. How do you see this game playing out?
You know, I'd have to go with Andy Reid. Okay. I really deep down in thought the Ravens were a better football team. And maybe if they played three times, they'd win 2, or 5 times they'd win 3. But the one time Andy Reid has to prepare a team to beat you, he's difficult to beat. So, I grew up a 49er fan in Calistoga, California, the Napa Valley. The very first NFL locker room I was ever in, 1961, 49ers locker room after the game, because Red Hickey, the head football coach of the 49ers at that time, his son was playing high school football for me. And Carol and I would be invited to sit with Mrs. Hickey during the games. Then I would get to go in the locker room with his son, Mike Hickey, and see all these 49ers. I'll tell you, it was a very, very inspiring moment for me, believe me. To walk in the 49er locker room and see those guys walking around that locker room was amazing to me. I was a high school football coach, and I will forever, lifetime, be grateful for that experience.
Hey, last thing, when you're watching the Super Bowl, which Vermeil wine will you be enjoying?
Normally we drink the 34 blend, the Cab Franc Petite Syrah. It's an everyday good glass of wine, and you're not sitting there sharing it with a great steak or a great pasta. So it goes along with the type of hamburger you're going to be serving, because it's in and out watching that ball game.
Hope it's a great game. Coach, this is the 3rd year in a row we've done this. Hopefully we'll keep the tradition going next year. Thanks. Enjoy the game, and great seeing you again.
All right. Thank you, Chet.
Hey, Chet, a lot of good takeaways from that as always when you talk to Coach. But, the thing that strikes me, it's the whole coach thing. It's about the process. It's always about the process. And as we talked about with the Eagles, going back to the current day Eagles, and when I made the comment is they lost the game before Sunday. They lost the game during the week at practice. That's the process that he's talking about, and that's where the process broke down. And that is how coaches think. It's pretty crazy, and he's right on the money. Absolutely. I
love talking to Coach Vermeil. And Bill, no offense to us, he's 87, and he's a lot sharper than you and me.
Yeah, I was going to say, isn't he 86? But is he
87?
87. Yeah. And his comments on Andy Reid, there's nothing like your peers. There's a Hall of Fame coach talking about another coach with nothing but the highest praise, higher praise than he is as a Hall of Famer. You can't ask for more than that.
I think Andy Reid is going to go down as maybe the greatest coach of certainly our lifetime. I think he's going to surpass Belichick not only in wins but in stature, because I think a lot of people are going to think Belichick did most of his thanks to Tom Brady. So
well, Andy is 5th right now. He's 5th in wins. Belichick is 3rd. Belichick is 27, I believe it is, away from number 1, 28th win. He'd be 27 to tie. Andy's a good bit behind that to get to number 4 and 3. Work his way up. And, there's some rumors out there that this could be it for Andy. If he wins the Super Bowl, that might be it. So we'll see.
Yeah, I heard that. But, I only heard it one time about a week ago, and I had never heard that before. But who knows? Maybe the top thing isn't that important to Andy, and you go out with another Super Bowl. Hey, why not? Enjoy time with your family,
Well, I mean, if you finish 5th, if you're 5th and you've won 3 Super Bowls, if they win another one and been to another one, the resume is plenty full. There's nothing else that prevents you to go to Canton the first time you're eligible. He's a shoo-in.
We'll make our picks next week, but I'll tell you right now, I'm rooting for Andy because, hey, we can't root for the 49ers. Come on, man.
No, absolutely. Hey, before we move on, because I think you might want to do something, but before you get to that, do you want to take this Taylor Swift moment? Is this your moment you have to have, or you want to come back to that? Because I know you're just dying.
Let's do it now, Bill. I'm sure.
And by the way, just so the listeners know, this is not rehearsed. I have no idea what's going to come up right now.
I'm sure, Bill, that you, like me, were just very touched by the kiss on field, Taylor and Travis Sunday after the Chiefs advanced to the Super Bowl. Didn't that just warm the cockles of your heart seeing that? Two 30-somethings in love. Their romance blossoming like this. Isn't it nice?
Well, Chet, I'll tell you what, I'm probably going to surprise you with this. I could care less.
Wow, shocking.
The TV and the media has made this into a circus. She's a 33-year-old, whatever she is, billionaire.
34. She's 34.
34. He's a 35, 36-year multi-millionaire. And she goes to see her boyfriend's game. Why? There's a lot of girls in that crowd to see their boyfriends. Just let it be. Let it be. And we all love Jason Kelce, and me too. Right up at the top of my favorite Eagles list. If that was Joey Bosa that jumped out of the suite watching Nick Bosa play, everybody in America would think he's an idiot. Right? But this whole media frenzy, it's nuts. It's nuts.
It is. But you know what? She is the most popular singer / artist performer in the world right now. And there's a lot of focus on her. And to her credit, although some people will, poo-poo this, she's brought a lot of new fans to the NFL. I did a story the other day on my little business newscast stuff that I do. I'll read it word for word. While some fans may be sick of the Taylor Swift-Travis Kelce love story, it's given the Kansas City Chiefs and the NFL a brand increase of an estimated $330 million. I don't know how they figure that, but it's according to Apex Marketing Group. The hefty sum comes from the equivalent dollar value of all print, digital, radio, TV, highlights, and social media impressions of Taylor going back to her first game attendance on September 24th. Taylor and Travis's relationship has also boosted NFL viewership. And it has. So, there's that. And see, it bothers me when people call her this no talent singer. The lady's talented. And whether you like her music or not, just turn her away if you see her on screen if it bothers you. So what?
Well, and I agree with you. But the only thing, again, it's not her fault that he catches a 3-yard out route and they put her on TV. And I don't want to see it. It's just nonsense, But I get it. But it's the media. It's media driven. The other thing I saw just today, someone made the comment about daddy-daughter time is increasing heavily because the girls are wanting to watch TV, watch the games with their dad.
Yep.
In hopes that they're going to put Taylor on the TV. It goes back to your impressions, I guess, of your 330 million. Yeah. But it's a bit bizarre. It's a little bit, to me, it's way, way out of control at this point.
Okay, but here's another thing. Some people think that the NFL somehow fixed the game on Sunday so the Chiefs would win and advance to the Super Bowl, so there'll be even more Taylor Swift stuff over the next 2 weeks. That is bogus. If you think that way, people, stop.
Yeah, stop. Yeah, that didn't happen. That didn't happen.
Please.
No. Oh boy, here we go. Let me take a nap. Let me take a nap.
Bill, you probably can't even remember the last movie you saw in the theater. Well, I've seen 35 movies in the theater since January of last year. I'm going to tell you about every single one of them now over the next few minutes. No, I'm not. That is not true. But you and the other anti-Hollywood folks out there can indeed take a 5-minute nap, a bathroom break, whatever, because you know why? Well, I'll tell you why. I'm taking everybody else to the movies. Here we go. Nominations for the 96th Academy Awards were unveiled last week, and as a movie fan, I was overall pretty pleased with how the Academy did. I'm sure some people will disagree, but I think 2023 was actually a very good year for movies. Lots of top quality flicks. And over the last 13 months, I managed to see a whole bunch of them. To be precise, I saw 44 movies that were released in 2023, 35 of them in the theater, 9 via cable or streaming. I saw 9 of the 10 films that received Best Picture nominations, The Zone of Interest, the lone exception. And I've got to be honest, I liked all of them that I saw. Some more than others, but all definitely worth your time. More about them in a minute. Now, among the movies I liked that didn't get Best Picture nominations would be the action-packed Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. 2 Netflix productions, May, December, and Leave the World Behind. And from Amazon Prime Video, the weird but fun Saltburn. My favorite horror films of the past year would be Evil Dead Rise, Scream 6, and the terrific Godzilla -1, for real. I really enjoyed a couple of concert films too. Stop Making Sense, featuring the Talking Heads in a legendary 1984 concert. And yes, Taylor Swift's Eras Tour. Hey, it was terrific. Now, the movie about Nike making that initial sneaker deal with Michael Jordan, Air, was pretty good, as was Ferrari, plus 2 other pseudo-sports films that critics were lukewarm on, but audiences, including me, loved. Champions and the George Clooney-directed The Boys in the Boat. Among the above-mentioned films, I put 4 of them in the bottom half of my top 10 for the year. You'll see that list in a minute. While the remaining 6 from my top 10 all happen to be Best Picture nominees. How about that? As I put up the graphic showing those Best Picture candidates again, I'll tell you that Maestro snuck into my top 10, right at number 10. That, of course, the terrific Netflix-produced biopic about Leonard Bernstein, starring Bradley Cooper, who was terrific as the legendary conductor. 9 through 6 on my list, those 4 other good films, specifically Ferrari, The Boys in the Boat, Stop Making Sense, and yeah, Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning Part 1. Now, when putting together my top 5, in addition to the overall quality of the movie, the enjoyability aspect comes into play. And for that reason, my 5th place flick is the film that's the big betting favorite to win the Oscar for Best Picture. I'm talking, of course, about Oppenheimer, about the development of the atomic bomb. Great flick, important film, but frankly, longer than it needed to be. Oh, I do expect Cillian Murphy to win the Best Actor award for how he played the title role. He was terrific. My number 4 flick is another one that no one would consider a fun watch, but it too is great. It's the latest from Martin Scorsese about a series of murders in the Osage Nation after oil was discovered on tribal land. Great performances by a stellar cast, including Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro, Jesse Plemons, and Golden Globe-winning actress Lily Gladstone. At number 3 on my list, then, a real good dark comedy about a frustrated novelist who writes an outlandish, stereotypical black book that surprisingly becomes a huge hit. But it's also a family drama that addresses topics including infidelity, Alzheimer's, death, and much, much more. Jeffrey Wright stars in that one, American Fiction. Now, I've gone back and forth on the remaining 2, so you know what? I'm just going to call it a tie. My 2 absolute favorite movies of 2023 are, drum roll please, Poor Things and The Holdovers. The former, Poor Things, is not for everyone. It follows Bella on her journey from Frankenstein-esque creation to a full-fledged woman. And it's quite the wonderfully bizarre journey. Emma Stone, who plays Bella, is my choice for Best Actress. Although, yes, Lily Gladstone in Flower Moon was great also. And The Holdovers was a real pleasant surprise, I got to tell you. It's about a curmudgeonly history teacher at a New England boarding school, the terrific Paul Giamatti, who was forced to chaperone a handful of students with nowhere to go over the 1970 holiday break. It's a comedy, it's a drama, and it's one of 2023's very best films. So here are my personal top 10 once again. Check it out. Memorize this. You just might be quizzed later. Okay, no, you won't. And oh yes, I did see Barbie. It was very good, but it just missed my top 10. Hope you saw at least a few of these films. And if you're wondering, or even if you're not, the Academy Awards will be held on Sunday, March 10th.
Well, Chet, I'll tell you what, I am proud to say that I am hitting 1,000.
You haven't seen any of them?
I haven't seen any of them, but I am lucky for it.
You didn't even see Air?
No.
I'd like to accept this award on behalf of the Academy. Thank you.
There you go. You and Barbie, you got it.
Barbie did not make the top 10, but I did see it. I enjoyed it.
There you go. Wow. Well,
Sorry,
you know what,
Joe.
Chet, after that, I think I might need a beer. What's going on with the best tailgaters in Philadelphia? Bob Cavanaugh and the gang at Cavs Philly Tailgates.
Yeah, sounds like a good idea, Bill. Glad you stayed awake at least. Cavs Philly Tailgates, cooking up a terrific catering business now, more than 30 years and counting. Known for their tailgate parties, Cavs is a 3-time winner of Philly Tailgates Jack Daniels Great American Tailgate Party Contest and a past winner of the Philly Daily News Tailgate Award. Cavs also does corporate events and parties, you name it. As for the calendar, not a whole lot going on right now, but they are gearing up for another Phillies baseball season. They'll do, occasional pregame tailgates, including one before the opener on March 28th. Then they're going to do one also before the June 8th Kenny Chesney concert in Philly. So that'll be fun. Order your tickets via the website, phillytailgates.com. Check the site. And if you have questions, you can email them at cavscatering@verizon.net. Cavs Philly Tailgates is the way to go. I think you know by now that Cav works all the time with Vince at Philly Sports Trips. They're the folks to use for Eagles road games during the season and more. Check their schedule. They got a lot going on. Multiple Phillies spring training trips, union trips, Flyers excursions too, including a recently added one with the Snow the Goalie podcast guys. That'll include a Phillies spring training game plus a Flyers Lightning hockey game in Tampa. And you can even join them on the June trip to London to see the Phillies play the Mets across the pond. Check those trips out and more, all the other ones, at phillysportstrips.com.
Well, hey, Chet, we continued our predictions into the playoffs where Bob Vitrone Jr. booped to his friends. You and I picked the winners of the playoff games. We're down to the Super Bowl. How are we doing with just one game to go?
Well, Bill, I can tell you this. Boop is doing great. You and me, not so great. Boop was a perfect 2-0 last Sunday. You were 1-1. I managed to pick both games wrong, although I did win some money on both of those games. Wagering action there. That's another story. So as for the standings, here we go. Like I said, Boop is pretty much running away with things. He has officially clinched the grand prize, whatever that may be. He's 10-2 this postseason. You and I are both 7-5, and with only one game left, Bill, we can't catch him. So congrats to Boop. I will buy Boop a beer the next time I see him at Splits.
It just goes to show you, Chet, all you have to do is get to the dance. You could win the whole thing. There's Boop.
Yeah. I cleaned up in the regular season, but Boop is the playoff.
And when you win the regular season, just nobody cares.
Yeah.
Hey, a couple interesting games, though, this weekend. Kansas City beat Baltimore. Detroit collapsed, giving up 27 in the second half, losing to the 49ers. But, hey, Chet, that Kansas City game, I tell you what, I was actually going to get the soundbite from last week when we talked about this because somebody on this show said Steve Spagnuolo and Patrick Mahomes. And, boy, if that wasn't hit right on the head.
Yeah. The Chiefs look good, man. The defense especially, they really had all the answers to keep Lamar Jackson in check. Great defensive effort, certainly. Chiefs didn't need a whole lot of offense. 17-7, I think it was at the half, and then they won 17-10. So great job by them. Mahomes didn't have to do anything crazy, but as you said, the defense was terrific.
Yeah, and you just talk about all the different stuff when you get to these games. You turn the ball over, you're going to lose. You just can't do it. And in the Ravens' case, they had 2 end zone turnovers where they should have had points, and that's it. I mean, that's the end of the ball game. Just can't do it. Patrick Mahomes had 0 turnovers, and And then in the Detroit game, the same thing kind of happened. A turnover, a couple drop passes. And, man, it was like a switch went off at halftime for the 49ers.
Yeah, that's for sure. Boy, I really thought Detroit was going to win that one. I mean, I picked them going into the game, and then I felt pretty good about it at halftime. But I don't know if they choked or it was just those Dan Campbell decisions, going for it on fourth down. And I don't know what to think of that because it was his MO during the regular season, but I think you have to maybe change your thinking a little bit in the postseason. So Dan Campbell taking a lot of criticism from fans, Lions fans and otherwise, after that loss Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, the reckless part is okay, but when you're playing in the playoffs, it's one and done. Lose, go home. You have an opportunity for points. You got to take points. If it's 4th and 1, 4th and 2, and you don't make it, that's one thing. You're 4th and 5, you're going for it. Kick the daggone field goal and go play defense, or punt away and go play defense, whatever it is. That one got away from Dan Campbell a little bit. Maybe he got a little too emotionally involved in the game and thought, hey, we'll just punch him in the mouth. And that didn't work out well and ended up costing the ball game.
Yeah, they had, the big lead at halftime, and then they fell behind by 3. And so you needed to kick a field goal there, I think, just to kind of, stem the tide and give the offense a little better feeling about things by tying the game up. But instead they didn't. And then the Niners scored and went ahead by, 2 scores. So that pretty much ended things.
Yeah. And, it's a funny thing that nobody can ever explain. But that thing called momentum is real.
Oh, yeah.
And if the Lions kick that extra field goal, get a few more points, Andy Reid did the same thing. He could have kicked another field goal there before half, which he should have done to give himself a more cushion lead. He went for it, didn't make it. And those are the kind of plays that turn games around. And wherever momentum comes from, it's a real thing. And it showed its head in the second half of that Detroit-San Francisco game.
We all remember how badly we felt after the 2004-5 Super Bowl when, the Eagles couldn't get it done. They stalled on that long drive. Donovan allegedly threw up. I imagine how badly Detroit Lions fans feel after, 30 plus years of making a deep run into the playoffs and then having the lead at halftime. Kind of like the Eagles, of course, in the Super Bowl last year, a 10-point lead at halftime. But I kind of felt badly for Lions fans.
Yeah. And, one other thing I want to mention back on the first game, on that Ravens game, players want to score. They smell the end zone. It's the most important thing is to get into the end zone. But I think they get a little bit greedy. And that's what happened. I think you reach that ball out to try to reach it over the goal line, and somebody going to smack that ball out of your hands. Take the down at the 2, the 1.5, the 1 yard line. Get down, run another play. Your team scores a touchdown. You're trying to reach out, make the play. It's a natural instinct to try to score, right? That's why they play. But in turn, that fumble there kind of sealed the fate of the Ravens.
Yeah, it really did. So now we have the Super Bowl set. How are you feeling about this matchup? Not necessarily who you're picking, but it should be a good game, right? As I said to Coach Vermeil, I think it's a 1.5-point line in favor of the Niners. It should be a good one, right?
Yeah, I think so. And, I'm going to have to think a little bit about this because I'm not sure if I think it's going to be a high-scoring shootout. I mean, these offenses are good. Somebody's going to play defense. Going to have to play defense. And so I'm not really sure yet how I think this is going to go, whether it's going to be a 35-31 game or is it going to be a 21-17 kind of game. But I think it's going to be a close, good game.
One of the bets I won a little money on Sunday was taking the over on the Lions 49ers game. It was over 52.5, I believe. So I felt good about that at least.
Hey, one final question for you. What's your take on Brock Purdy?
Everybody likes to diss the guy that he's just like a game manager, but here he is going to the Super Bowl. So he does what he has to do. And
he made plays. He made plays in that second half.
Yeah. So he's not fancy. People say his arm isn't, anything special. But, hey, when you get the wins, that's really all that matters.
That's right. All right.
One other thing. The early Super Bowl 59 odds are out. This is for next year, Bill. And you can see the Eagles are, what, 9th or 10th on the list? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 9th, I guess. 22-1 right now. So Niners, Chiefs, Ravens, Bills, of course, the top 4, not a surprise. The Cowboys, a smidge ahead of the Eagles from the NFC East to get to the Super Bowl next year. So if you want to lay some money down now, Bill, go for it.
Hey, you know what? I'm not very good at math. 22-1 odds. If you laid down $20, you'd be all right.
That's what, 440 or something like that?
There you go. Something like that. All right. Hey, we had another great guest tonight, Coach Dick Vermeil, who's coming to see us next week at Philly Pressbox Radio.
Next week, Bill, we will welcome back the editor of USA Today's Sixers Wire, Kai Carlin. We had a great time meeting him last April, and we look forward to talking with him again next week, which happens to be, by the way, just ahead of the February 8th NBA trade deadline. So it'll be good to talk to Kai again about that.
You bet. Hey, spring training now, Chet, 2 weeks away. You making your annual long weekend trip to Clearwater this year?
Well, something different, Bill. Believe it or not, my wife is going to join me on a trip to Florida. So
get out.
We've gone to Disney many times over the years, haven't been there in a while. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Disney for a few days around March 14th, I think, and then drive over to Clearwater on Sunday, St. Patrick's Day, March 17th. She has never been to the Clearwater area, so this will be a first for her. And we'll hopefully get to a game on Monday, the 18th. So a new experience, me in Clearwater with my wife. I have to behave now.
Very good. That'd be a lot of fun. Good for Miss Linda. Good for Miss Linda. She's probably like, he's having so much fun, I'm going to check it out. Exactly.
So, yeah, we'll have a good time.
Yep. Looking forward to it. I'd be making a couple trips over there myself. They actually Phillies play a night game here in Lakeland. There aren't many nights, during spring training, but they play a night game. They usually don't bring a lot of the big boys. They'll bring a couple, but not many of the big boys on an away game, and even less on a night game. But hey, still be good to see them, and it's a mile from my house.
And Bill, pitchers and catchers report 2 weeks from today, Valentine's Day, February 14th, down in Clearwater.
That's right. Can't wait. We've had some cool nights again this week, but 68 or so during the day, sunny as could be, and spring is on the way. It's in the air.
Nice.
All right.
Robbie Ellis will be down there. I saw Robbie last year in Clearwater.
There you go. Yeah, I've never met Robbie either. That's another one that's I've got to meet up with Robbie. That's for sure.
Bill, I talked to Robbie a few weeks ago, and I told her that we're planning something for our 500th show / 10th anniversary, and we're working that out now. But I'll tell you right now, we're going to do a live show at the Irish Rover at some point, likely in mid-June. So we will tell you more about that when it's definite. But hopefully, Robbie will be there. You, Bill, will be there. I'll be there. And we're going to work on that in the next month or two and get it all set up.
That's the plan. Can't wait. Always fun going live at the Rover.
Go see some movies, everybody. Come on.
Let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. We're not watching movies. We're sports people, not movie people. Come on.
I'm multifaceted.
Let's thank tonight's special guest, the coach, Dick Vermeil. Our sponsors, the Irish Rover Station House, Cavs, Philly Tailgate, and PPCC 118 Raz Room. For Jim Chet Chesko, this is Bill Furman. We hope you enjoyed the show. We'll join Philly Pressbox Radio next Wednesday, February the 7th already, Chet, at 7 p.m. Yeah. You can see us live on Facebook on our Philly Pressbox Radio YouTube channel and listen on Google Podcasts as well as Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and all the others. High hopes, Philadelphia sports fans.
High hopes,